Hi, creative friends. To any new viewers, welcome. And here's a quick recap. Last episode, I started the 30-day sketchbook challenge for 2024. The day one prompt was balls, and day two was ink. The day three prompt was coffee, which I like chocolatey and sweet, so picked this mocha frappuccino as my subject. For this sketch, I switched to colored pencil, which reminds me to mention again that for this challenge, the choice of medium is up to the artist. So for any of you that are interested but aren't doing the challenge yet, come on and participate, and you can do whatever you like to sketch with. Even though the challenge is in progress, you could do what I did last year, which is start with the current prompts and later go back to do earlier prompts whenever you have the time. I'll put some info about the 30-day sketchbook challenge and the host, artist Susan Yates, in the description below this video. This year, there's an app to be in the official challenge group and get extra content and stuff, but I really have to limit how many subscriptions and apps, etc. I do because the budget is very tight. So I'm just following along by checking what the daily prompt is on Instagram. Anyway, back to this sketch. I'm going for small and simple to keep up with the challenge. I'm using just a handful of light to dark brown colors and just a little green and gray. Size-wise, by working small, I'm saving time, not putting in much detail, and there's less area to cover too. I am hoping, though, that during the challenge, there's at least one day that I do have the time to do a larger sketch. I'm also hoping that there will be a prompt during the challenge that will allow for sketching a dog, of course, or at least an animal, since that's my favorite. Anyway, here is my sketch for day 3, coffee. Day 4 had me getting out a few utensils for the prompt cutlery. I decided to use graphite pencils for this day, starting with an HB pencil to sketch the outlines. Again, I'm leaving out a lot of detail to be able to get these sketches done in the small window of time I have each day. If you search for 30-day sketchbook challenge, 30 and then day sketchbook challenge, all one word. Search for that on Instagram to see what different artists in the challenge are doing. This prompt seemed to have some artists doing really nice detailed work. It's fun to check out all the prompts, but this one really seemed to motivate some challengers to get into the details. Maybe it's family heirloom silverware. Anyway, back to the sketch. Once I got the outlines put in with the HB, here I've switched to a 7B pencil. So a soft lead easily leaves a dark line and dark tones without pressing too hard. And then here I've switched to a 2H, so a harder lead leaves a lighter tone. Here I'm back to the 7B, and I just kept switching back and forth between these 3 pencils, this HB, which is mid-grade, and then the 7B, the soft pencil, and then the 2H, the hard pencil, just depending on what area I was working on, and if I wanted a mid-tone or darker or lighter. And the HB, if you don't have a whole set of the different grades, an HB pencil is going to be able to do quite a bit, by you varying how hard you press. But by having a little bit more variety of pencils, as you can see here, the B pencils, give you a much darker tone. Here, the H pencil, you easily can do very light shades without accidentally pressing too hard and getting too dark, because no matter how hard you press with the H pencils, they're never going to get dark. You're easily able to leave a light tone. So with those three, was able to do this sketch just with those three pencils. All right, gonna call this sketch good and put the date on it. And then I realized I didn't have my name anywhere on the page. And then finally here, for January 4th, wanted to make a note that my channel reached 100 subscribers today. So pretty happy about that. Yay! On to day 5, and the prompt is bulbs. So got some garlic and a red onion to sketch. Starting the sketch with an HB pencil again to put in some light outlines of the bulbs sitting on the table in front of me. After I've got a basic outline in, I'm switching here to a pastel pencil to put in some shadow. A nice thing about the pastel pencils versus using graphite is they don't have that shininess, the glare that graphite pencils can have. So with that pastel pencil, putting in some detail. And now I'm on to the brush pens. That first color was too orange, so here I've switched to one that is more pink to start off the lighter areas of the red onion. Have switched to kind of a beigey tan color to start putting in some details and shading on the garlic. So with the brush pens, there's not always one that's the exact color that you want, but by using multiple colors and layering, you can get pretty close to the colors of the actual objects. So here, putting in more color on the red onion. And here switching to another color, a little bit darker pink. Again, just layering the different colors to get close to what I want, since there's no pen a lot of times that's exactly the color that you want, especially on a subject like this, where there's subtle changes from pinkish to reddish to purplish. Now on the garlic, didn't use as many colors because a lot of it was just white. So here have one of the darker colors to put in on the shadowed side of the red onion. Here using a gray brush pen to darken up the shadows. Here I actually used a purple or kind of a lavender color to layer in and get that added to the red onion. A bit of light gray for some shading on the garlic. And here back to pastel pencil for some shadows. All right, I'm pretty happy with how the sketch is looking, so I put day 5 and the prompt bulbs and date it, but decide while looking at it that it could use a little more tweaking. So here I've got a darker gray brush pen to put a bit more depth in the shadows right underneath the bulbs. And so I think that's a little bit of improvement. And oh yeah, well, might as well make the number 5 colorful. Decide on tweaking a little bit more. So here I've got the pastel pencils for the shiny parts of the red onion, highlight those a little bit. And here, putting a little bit of reflected light in the shadow area of the red onion. Still needs another tweak. I'm going to darken this shadow under the onion a little bit more. Am I done? Well, not quite. I think I want to put a little bit more shading in the background, but then I was ready to call this sketch good. Now on to day 6, and the pencil sketch is light, so you can't read it yet, but it's something made of paper is the prompt. And I love to read, so decided to do a book. I have a sketchbook on the table in front of me to get the general shape, but I'm going to make up the details of the book. And as you see here, I spaced and I put an 8 instead of a 6, just had a senior moment. So anyway, now I'm inking the sketch with the drawing pen, Copic brand drawing pen, and decide to do my favorite Jane Austen novel, which is Persuasion. Pride and Prejudice is a very close second, but Persuasion is my favorite. So I'm just kind of making up this cover. And so here's Anne Elliot, and she's on the seashore, and I put in Captain Wentworth's ship on the horizon. So again, just making this up as I go along. So I realized my mistake and figure out a way to make the 8 into a 6. It's not pretty, but at least now it is a 6. You may have noticed that on the bottom part of the sketchbook page, I divided those spaces into 3, and so they're even smaller than the top. I knew for days 6 and 7 I was going to have even less time to do sketches, so made those spots even smaller. So anyway, colored in the sky and the sea here on the little illustration, put some sand color for the seashore, and here making the book cover, the rest of the book cover brown. So a very simple little sketch so that I was able to get this done and stay on track for the challenge. So there's day 6, something made of paper. To round out the first week of the challenge, prompt 7 is a can of, and then it's open-ended. The instructions for Susan were that it was up to the artist to decide what it was a can of. First thing that comes to mind for me is can of worms, so that's what I decided to do. Also a way to sort of have an animal sketch. Again, I'm keeping it simple, just using pencil and a little bit of pastel pencil for color. So I'm happy that so far I am 7 for 7 as far as keeping up with the challenge. If you've enjoyed the video, learned something new, or were entertained, thanks very much. If you would give that like button a boop.